Hey, good morning or good afternoon. I'm going to put this on both channels, so I'll say welcome to both Integrative Preparedness and American Reversion. Just got done watching the Moron in Chief's little news conference there, telling us how tough he was going to be with what's going on. Before I start that, we just got a message from one of our nephews. He's an over-the-road driver, and he is out there where the Freedom Convoy, one of the Freedom Convoys, is now parked and getting ready to go again out in Kingman, Arizona. He says there are trucks as far as he can see. Of course, interestingly enough, this stuff going over in Ukraine has taken our mind off of that, hasn't it? We This is what I want to say right now. I'll be covering more stuff over on American Reversion later today. The Democrats have now got the war they've wanted. I have to say, because I will admit, I'm a little bit surprised the Russian forces have gone so far and attacked so many places in Ukraine. Others called it right. They said Putin was going for the whole thing, the whole of Ukraine. I didn't think so, because I've seen how Russia does these things over and over and over again. But we'll see. Maybe they're right. Maybe he's going for the whole thing, and maybe next he wants, Belarus and Estonia, all of that. Who knows? We're going to see. I do know, however, that don't ever trust the first stuff that you see on the news. Like they say, what's the first casualty of war is the truth, right? And everybody likes to get all excited and up and we're going to war, gets a lot more viewers than we're not going to war. Isn't that right? The old newspaper saying, if it bleeds, it leads. Well, we will see. But the Dems now have the war that they've been wanting and that they've needed and that they do all the time. Every time the Democrats, and this is going to roll into preparedness here a little bit, and as far as what we talk about over on American Reversion, every time the Democrats get their butt in a financial crack, which is always, first off, because they're stupid. Secondly, and you know what? It's not that I'm trying to offend anybody out there. If there are a couple of Democrats out there who say, I'm unsubscribing, you can't talk to me that way, you're all wrong, and by the way, Trump was part of the problem, hey, you can just be quiet. I was raised a Democrat until I started paying attention, and if you want to find a little bit of truth, go back in history and see what happens. This is the party that has brought you every war since the Civil War, okay? The difference between past wars that the Democrats have given us, and I don't mean the global war on terror, okay, that was Bush, but he was pushed and he was weak and he was a rhino anyway. The difference is, in the past, our people have only been stupid. I mean, in comparison to other people, but in addition to being stupid, they were always working at the behest of the hidden hand behind them, okay, that was pushing for wars because wars make money. Now, we have an additional, and that's what, don't think this isn't what all of this is about. It's all about money. In addition to that, however, they need this war in order to camouflage their failures, which have caused the current monetary collapse, the current economic collapse in our country. Okay, so they tried to ruin our country. They did a great job. And for everybody who would like to talk about how they didn't like how Trump acted, go back and see if you would prefer, what was going on there with energy independence, low inflation, jobs all over the place, as a getting secured border, all those things, or do you like the way things are now? Okay, so they have needed this to hide behind. They've needed this to take people's minds off of the crumbling economy, all their mandates, all of the information that's about to come out, I believe, showing how everything they put out was a lie. For the last 2 years, it's been a stinking lie. Okay? How they're shipping immigrants into our country who are not being brought in as potential positives for our country. Our open borders are allowing essentially an invasion from the South. Our cities are crumbling even more than they were. Crime is up everywhere. Income's down. Blah blah blah. You know everything. I feel like Biden said, "You know the deal, right? You know the deal." Well, they've needed this war for some reason. They've been wanting to go to war with Russia for a long time, and I think the reason is because as the Democrat Party became more socialist, even communist, guess what? Russia was actually becoming less communistic. To an extent, I mean, to the extent that Russia can become less communistic, they were becoming a little bit more capitalistic, and I don't want to argue about that because that would we could go for a week on that, right? I'm just giving the overview on this. What this tells me, though, what happened today. Biden didn't do anything important. First off, I'll get back to what I was going to say. He didn't do anything important. He's put on these sanctions. We will see what effect that has. I expect that to have very little effect, but we will see. For those people who think that this is a white hat and a black hat, a good guy and a bad guy, Ukraine good, Russia bad, look into a little bit more of the history of Ukraine. All right. Ukraine is a corrupt government, a corrupt country. I mean, well, I almost got into something that I don't think that I will. But I'm not talking about the people. Okay. The people are probably fine. I don't know many Ukrainians, but I'm sure, people are pretty much people all over the world. It's their governments that are the problem. But if you want to see a mess, you just look at Odessa and see the spider hand that comes out of there. What this does is tells me one thing, and that is that China is behind, or at least supportive of what Putin's doing. Okay. Now, one of the funny things that our idiot in chief said was he is going to make sure. What was it that he said? He said something like, he's not going to get, we're going to make sure that he can't get as much high-tech stuff as he's been getting. Where do you think Putin's going to get all of his high-tech stuff? China. Okay. They have already made a deal. Now, Russia and China don't like each other. The Soviet Union and China don't like each other. Yeah, they're all socialists. They're all communists, or at least to different degrees and different flavors, but they've never liked each other. They're entirely different peoples. They think differently. Now, the Russian mind is closer to the Chinese mind than the American mind is. I'll say that, because the American mind and the Russian mind is not exactly the same. But they've never been friends. They've always been kind of those brotherly adversaries. That both were communists, but our communism better than your communism. But the one thing that has always pulled them together is their hatred of us. And now they've seen finally that America has a weak enough leader that they can come in and essentially do what they want. Weakness invites aggression. And Biden, through his actions and inactions, shutting down our pipelines. Do you know that we import almost 600,000 barrels of oil from Russia a day? I mean, I think they are our third or fourth, I don't know which, third or fourth biggest external source of oil, behind Canada, Mexico, and there might be one other. I don't know. We get more from Russia than we do from Saudi Arabia. Okay, so when we are dependent on our adversary, how much sense does that make? That shows weakness. It showed weakness that he shut down our pipelines. It showed weakness that he gave the Russians the go-ahead for theirs. It showed weakness the way that we came out of Afghanistan. It showed weakness to the extent of an invitation that if Putin just makes a minor incursion into Ukraine, then we're not going to go at it all the way. Hey, he was just throwing a signal out there. Yeah, come on in. He was invited. All these things, I don't know whether they were done on purpose or not. Never underestimate the stupidity of liberals. But if they weren't trying, they couldn't have done a better job of inviting. They are the ones that cause. And I was listening to a radio show this morning when I was going down to the store. And by the way, gasoline is down 6 cents here. I don't expect it to stay down. It's going to go back up. But somebody was saying something to the effect that, excuse me just a second, be right back. Okay, I'm back. I forget what I was going to say. If it was important, maybe it'll come back to me before I sign off. If not, it was no big deal. But we think, oh yeah, I know what it was. They said, well, don't ever think that it was our fault that this happened, that it was Biden's fault that this happened. It's Russia's fault that this happened. Bull. Okay. Bull. If I leave my doors open and I leave stacks of cash on the table with the lights on and I leave my house and somebody comes in and steals it, okay, yeah, they're the ones that stole it. They're at fault. So am I. It's nothing more. It's a decoy. It's sucking them in. Come here. It's a magnet. It's bringing them in. The police used to run decoy operations all the time. You go out there and have a woman that looks like she can't defend herself standing alone on a bus stop, and see who tries to mug her, or a little old man or a little old lady cashing his welfare check, and there's a squad of cops back in the shadows, so that when Mr. Bad Guy jumps out and tries to rob this person, they grab him. Okay, it was a decoy. The same with this. Okay, if he wasn't trying to, he did a great job without trying, which liberals always can do a great job, even without trying, at being idiots and bringing bad times. I can't find the word that I wanted to say. Anyway, that's it. They wanted this war. They needed it. The extent to which it grows. Biden says we're not going to put troops in. Hey, when have we heard that before, right? The American people don't want a war. Okay, just like the American people didn't want World War II, and didn't want World War I, and didn't want the Spanish-American War, and didn't want Korea. Well, some did, and didn't want Vietnam. But every time they found something to sell it to the American people, and finally, they found the button. After saying, this isn't our war, this is a European mess, and it is. This ought to be handled over there. We got no dog in this fight. But they could build this thing up over the years to where we're in it, and I'll tell you what, I can already see. Do you remember just not too long ago, they were talking about the possibility of including girls in selective service? Well, I'll tell you one thing. I didn't raise my kids to be drafted and used by a corrupt government like this. Just saying. Okay. Anyway, it's a mess. We're going to see what more of a mess it's going to develop into. But make no mistake, they wanted this war. They needed this war because it's taken everybody's eyes and mind off the real problems that are happening here. And now they're going to use this all through the election season, and we'll see how that works out. Anyway, let me know what you think down here. I know you all are smart out there. You're probably thinking about things that I haven't thought about. So share them with everybody else, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.